There was like immediate sense of like, I don't know, I could I could breathe a little bit, you know?
The Pennington County State's Attorney's Office in South Dakota has decided to drop all charges against Nick Tilsen, the founder and CEO of high profile Native American nonprofit and advocacy group Indian Collective. The announcement came 45 days after a 3-day trial for the case, which resulted in a mistrial.
There was like immediate sense of relief,
Mhm.
immediate sense of relief of I don't know, I could I could breathe a little bit, you know?
Mhm.
And so that was a huge, yeah, it was a huge sense of relief for sure. I think their decision to not retry the case is because they didn't have a good case. It was unsubstantiated from the get-go. The evidence was overwhelmingly in my support. It became really clear that they really should have never brought these charges in the first place, and that what the prosecutor was doing was not supported by the community. In fact, the community's position was entirely something different.
Tilson was charged with aggravated assault against a law enforcement officer, obstruction of law enforcement, and simple assault on an officer, all stemming from a June 2022 cop watch in downtown Rapid City, South Dakota. Tilson was facing up to 26 years in prison. Pennington County State's Attorney Laura Retzel said that the decision to dismiss the case was made after a careful review and thoughtful consideration of the case and evidence. Retzel said, quote, "Our office prosecuted this case based on the evidence and the law, and we remain confident that the charges were appropriate to bring." Tilson cannot be tried again for these charges, meaning that a nearly 4-year court case on the issue is finally over.
And it's one of the things that really hasn't been heralded and trumpeted from the highest mountains, and that tribal gaming saves lives.
A study published at the end of 2025 by the United States Census Bureau highlighted the profound positive impact that tribal gaming enterprises bring to their respective communities. Most notably, the study found that in the first 2 decades since the passage of the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, which allowed for the creation of the tribal casino industry, Native communities have experienced an 11% decrease in childhood poverty, in addition to a roughly 7% increase in labor force participation by Indigenous women, compared to just 3% nationwide. The study also found that casinos bring an overall 4% reduction in unemployment. I spoke with Victor Roca, conference chair of the Indian Gaming Association, to discuss these findings. Could you give a little bit more insight into what the ways are that these gaming operations help communities?
The tribes that have gaming, their children are exponentially, they do better in school, they do better in reading, there's more security in the household, drug addiction goes down, families stay together. You know, it has an incredible effect. Tribal gaming brings Native Americans closer to the American dream, where they deserve to be. It goes down to the base level, you know, to either to providing services and health services, to, you know, to the other extreme, to providing, you know, allowing people to buy homes and create generational wealth and stuff. So it does the full spectrum, but the whole point is, even yet, everybody's boat has risen from tribal gaming. You know, with tribal gaming, it has given us the freedom to fight back legally and with the lawyers, and more importantly, to educate our children.
Part of the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act states that tribally owned casinos must use their revenue for the betterment of tribal economic development and welfare. This includes giving to local charities and, in some situations, sharing the revenue with state and local governments. The Potawatomi Casino in Milwaukee, the first tribal casino built off of a reservation, is a prime example of this.
Yeah, so I mean, the Potawatomi Casino started as just a bingo hall. It was just it looked like a farmhouse down in the valley, that the tribe bought the land from the city, and we've been there 35 years now.
That was Alex Zawada, Chief Marketing Officer of the Potawatomi Casino.
I mean, Potawatomi has definitely been involved in the city and giving back to the community when it comes to our gaming revenue as well.
The casino employs 2,500 people, making it one of the top 25 employers in Milwaukee. It also gives a considerable amount of its proceeds to charitable organizations and community programming through its foundation.
We have a committee that kind of goes through and picks up to 30 charities, and then we raise money throughout the year, and we do random drawings in December, and we give funds to those charities of choice. We put them all in a tumbler, and then we pick the charities out randomly to see who wins some money from our Heart of Canal Street.
Not long after it was established, the foundation was able to help fund the creation of the Indian Community School just outside Milwaukee.
The casino side has to follow certain regulations when it comes to providing money to the community and to children, where the foundation doesn't have that. So we work actually very closely hand in hand with the foundation. We try to highlight, obviously, all of the cultural months. So internally, we do Native American Heritage Month, and we also externally do a dinner just to invite the community in to let them learn about the Native American culture and kind of what Potawatomi provides for the city.
For ICT, I'm Amelia Schaefer.
I'm currently the artist in residence at Jocelyn Castle in Omaha. It's a gorgeous building. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I can paint anywhere, I would love to paint in a turret, and having this beautiful view of the skyline here and the horizon has been really, really inspiring.
You could say it's a fairy tale for Sarah Rowe, painting mythical creatures in a castle. Omaha folks may see some on star seeds, the tallest mural in Nebraska that spans 15 grain silos. I first saw the Ponca and Lakota artist work at the Sheldon Art Museum in Lincoln. Called Posts, it was part of a touring exhibit called Exploding Native Inevitable.
I built this immersive installation called Post, which was kind of a childhood fever dream, inspired by Swiss Family Robinson and Pee-wee's Playhouse. It was kind of like a treehouse inspired structure. I'm in the middle of completing a giant installation for the Omaha Central Library. It's a 60-foot wall of cut wood panels and steel and vibrant colors. It's titled Flying Fish. So it'll be a little perch for people to look through the eyes of a fish or through the fish scales down at the street below. So that'll be completed by mid-April. I love painting large, and painting watercolor this large is also an incredible challenge with gravity and not being able to move the paper around. It was fun to build this little ethereal kind of dreamscape for this Heyoka figure who's slowly starting to take up the space here. There will be other creatures that come to life in this space. I was kind of the class clown, and so in my adult life, I've learned more about trickster spirits and, using humor as medicine. So I started meditating more on the trickster spirits and learning more about Heyoka, who's the sacred clown of the Lakota. And she came to me as this horse-headed figure with these really long limbs. I always say they're so long they could unfurl and wrap around the world. It's just, I love the spirit of Heyoka because it challenges perceptions. It invites humor as, a portal to deeper connection, especially in times of difficulty. So there's a lot of wisdom in that. And I feel like our humanity is in our humor. So the Heyoka has been a central figure in my work for many years.
For ICT, I'm Shirley Snavy.
Eldon Powless is a chef of the Oneida Nation in Wisconsin. He's making lunch at Aguaqua, or Our Food's Kitchen on the Oneida Reservation near Green Bay.
Here I get to just do what I want. They're just like, as long as it tastes good and it's nutritious, go ahead.
He says his Northern Comfort Bowl is an Indigenous take on Southern comfort food.
I wanted to do like a little twist on that and use wild rice and use the beans that we have and whatever we have available local.
Unquaqua isn't a restaurant, but Paulus is their guest chef for this week's meal. He says he uses some heirloom indigenous foods that are harvested on their farm, the Oneida way.
I try to like incorporate whatever we can get locally.
His recipe of diced celery, onions, carrots, and locally sourced wild rice are added to a buttercream sauce with roasted corn. Black beans simmer in braised smoked ham hocks on the side.
These last ones, Steve?
Yeah.
Stephen Webster is director of farm and culinary operations at Unquaqua. He says their From Seed to Table grant with the Wisconsin Partnership Program subsidizes sales of hot lunches made by Indigenous chefs to restore wellness to their diets.
They get a stipend. They cook about 80 to 100 meals for the community. The community then puts in orders, how many we want, and then we pretty much disperse those meals throughout the community.
Webster says their grant program offers community members meals rooted in ancestral knowledge for modern living, integrating traditional ingredients like corn and beans with contemporary cuisine.
The goal of this was to try to expand people's palates.
The grant also subsidizes hands-on meal preparation workshops using products harvested on the reservation.
We've had people make maple seed cookies, which blows my mind sometimes, where there was no gluten in it.
Webster says in this first year, the program is meeting its goals.
I think we did 1,393 meals just through the hot meal noon program. And then we did another 80-some meals through the meal prep class I talked about.
Webster says meals like the Northern Comfort Bowl would cost about $30 each in local restaurants. But Unquaqua is able to offer it here for $13 to the Oneida community due to the reduced pricing by the grant. Webster says he hopes to continue the same pricing when funding ends.
But now I feel like we're much stronger from a logistics standpoint to take on this stuff in the future.
Webster says both food programs help the Oneida community reconnect to their indigenous foodways from a time when their ancestors were relocated from New York to Wisconsin in the early 1800s.
When they came here, again, they were following Christian missionaries, but there were still people who practice our traditions, our language, and all that other stuff. And a lot of those seeds came with them as well.
What did they tell you about indigenous cultivation?
The biggest one that most people are aware of is companion planting, the Three Sisters style of planting.
He says maintaining Oneida's agricultural methods of planting varieties of corn, beans, and seeds next to each other is a balancing act of traditional and modern farming.
For 2 or 3 people like me and my wife to do it, we have to use a tractor, we have to do this stuff, but we still make it a point to hand plant and hand weed and so forth to keep those traditions alive.
Twice a month, the Unquaqua team delivers their culturally relevant meals to 7 different drop-off sites along the Oneida Tribal Department's route. Webster and the Unquaqua staff and volunteers packed up his truck with dozens of hot and ready pre-ordered meals prepared by that week's chef.
Hello there. Hi. You gonna buy one? Yeah. All right.
Tony House picked up her 3 meals at the Unquaqua farm, reflecting on her childhood memories of food insecurity from colonization.
I remember what it was like to be hungry as a child. And I remember thinking, how come people didn't hand me good foods?
She says the program will help younger children have an appetite and desire for healthy indigenous meals.
Nutrition right here impacts 3 generations automatically. Scientifically, we know that now.
Back in the Unquaqua kitchen, Paulus says traditional indigenous ingredients can be cooked with love and risk while exploring new recipes.
You don't have to be super traditional and make it a certain way. You can incorporate it however you would like.
Webster says From Seed to Table incorporates the past.
Make sure that we kind of go back as much as we can
for a healthier diet in the future.
To what maybe our ancestors were eating to help combat some of that and address some of that.
From the homelands of Oneida in Wisconsin, I'm Erica Aisi for ICT.
Over time, it turned into something it's like therapy now, so.
After finishing his time in the Navy, Ben Leadham was looking for a change. He wanted a business that he would run himself and a chance to be an entrepreneur. So in 2010, Leadham launched his business, Three Feathers, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The name was inspired by his favorite basketball player, Allen Iverson, and a classmate with a cool last name back in Lame Deer, Montana. The business specializes in making star quilts and aims to build a star quilting empire.
So my great-grandma used to do it. She was Santee Sioux. She lived in Winnebago, Nebraska. Luckily, I got to live with her before her time was done. But Grandpa showed me, my dad, my cousins do it. Just wanted to do my own thing.
Star quilts are given as a sign of honor to people, usually high school graduates, college graduates, newborn babies, newlywed couples, or at funerals.
There's no star quilt businesses that mass produce, and there's a lot of big orders out there with some of these tribes that we deal with. There's one contract we're trying to get 4,000 quilts in a year, but nobody can do that in native countries, so we're trying to be that mass production company. You're supposed to put all that good energy into the quilt. We were about 7 people, and we were doing 7 a day, but for me personally, I can do it in under 3 hours. I got quick with it. That's all I've been doing every day, day in and day out. The goal is to eventually do our own fabrics, dye our own fabrics, create everything from scratch. I want to bring business back to my people and a nice shop, and we'll do all the clothing. Because everybody goes overseas. The printing machines we want to do ourselves. Like I was saying, dyeing our own fabrics, making our own fabrics, that's the end goal. I feel like it's a ways away. We're expanding at a rapid pace since we've been here, and I actually had one of the tribes help us. They gave us a grant, the Mid-Wacaton Sioux, and they've been so good to me as far as business.
Over the past 6 years, the business has also become known for its unique use of social media as a marketing tool.
I've always been into like short videos. I used to do like music videos, reenactment. So when COVID hit, I was so used to just going to events. I wasn't much into social media. We had the following because I always do a quilt giveaway, and that really brought us majority of the following. But once COVID hit, I had no choice. I thought we were going to go out of business. And then I was like, well, I'll just do Facebook Live all the time. And we had the right shop for it. Everything looked professional. And we would just go live and just sew in front of people. But once we got here, the team kind of just encouraged us to do trends.
Do you want to sing? No. You don't want to be the singer? Okay.
And it kind of took fire from our very first video. And it was just like something we want to keep doing. And they all enjoy it. People get recognized. And it's definitely a huge tool in our marketing. A lot of people, and I think more than ever with where this world's at today, I feel like we're like a little bit of a breath of fresh air for them. So it's almost like needed to just brighten their day, even if it's for a few seconds. It's definitely a bigger tool than I thought it would be, and I'm so glad we're on that route. When we do some of our lives or TikToks, we'll notice that there's a few sales on our website right after. So it's like we are definitely slowly reaching more and more every time.
The Star Quilt tradition is rooted in giving back. In line with that tradition of giving, Three Feathers aims to do a giveaway frequently and help fundraise for people in need in the local community.
The first quilt we give away for free, and then the second quilt will be for somebody in need. For instance, this last lady, seen one of her posts, she's got a family of 6. She took in her brother's kids, and she just found out she had cancer, so she had to start going to a lot of medical appointments, so her bills were racking up. So what we did for an hour was just share all her donation information, and she would relay the names that donated, and we'd put them all into a bucket and then pick one right at the end. It's what I like to do. That's my favorite part, is being able to help people that definitely need it more than ever.
But the fundraising efforts and community building efforts don't stop there. Three Feathers is preparing to open its new storefront on the north side of Rapid City. In the new storefront, Three Feathers will offer a market space for local native artists to showcase their work and sell their work. Leadham said this dream was part of a shared dream that he and his late mother had before she passed.
It's going to be a place where we want to showcase artists, not just their products. I think a lot of places just they're middlemen, and we don't want to be that. We want to take you directly to the source, give you any story about them, because it's so hard to be an artist, especially these days. So any way we can help with our connections and whatnot. I think as soon as we moved here, we started seeing a massive difference just in our energy, and just all the opportunities are literally coming through the door.
Despite all the ups and downs that comes with owning a small business, Leadham said he'll never give up and never surrender, just like his Northern Cheyenne ancestors.
Crazy Dogs, that's a society I'm from. It's like the Crazy Dogs, they used to laugh and dance before battle, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, because this business is a battle and life in general. So I know the potential, I know what it could be. And just seeing how, like, Pendleton, for instance, how big they are, how much they make annually, it's like, even if we got 5% of that, we would be good, because the cool thing about our brand is we try to give back as much as we can. And the bigger we get, the more we will definitely return.
For ICT, from Oceti Shakoi Homelands, I'm Amelia Schaefer.
Just said, how do we hold that? That's really the question I think we got to figure out.
Hosted in Maselli's in downtown Lawrence, a more intimate conversation was held between Dr. Dan Wildcat and Chamisa Edmo. But the topic remained the same. How can Indigenous communities adapt with AI, either as a resource or an issue to be solved?
This is a discussion Indigenous people need to have amongst themselves, and I think you've got to go very slow at first in order to really produce something that's going to be reliable, valuable, and really ask yourself, what are your expectations?
As Dr. Wildcat would put it, AI will always be missing that special something.
In terms of important kinds of questions, I don't think AI is ever going to replace what I like to call AI 1.0, our ancestral intelligence.
During the discussion, questions were fielded from the audience concerning AI and its use.
People can navigate the forest via ChatGPT.
You don't know where it came from. You don't know if it was reliable. You don't know real, unreal. I think also there's an issue of accountability when you don't know where it came from. And suppose you get really completely false, potentially dangerous information. Who do you hold accountable?
As the night winded down, Wildcat left a warning and a possible solution to AI use for Indigenous communities.
I think the best solution is, if you're going to develop something, you will never connect it to the World Wide Web. It's that issue. And even putting stuff in the cloud is dangerous, because the cloud can be hacked.
For Good Morning Indian Country and ICT, I'm Caden Baird.
I think I love talking to Chamisa.
As the 2026 Boston Marathon approaches, I met up with Angelita Jim, a Dene marathon runner, to work out with her.
What kind of got me into running was when I was younger. My family, most like my parents, would want me to get my energy out. So they would always tell me just to go run outside. And also, since I grew up with my brother and sister in the household, they always had their own talent in sports. So I thought that running would be more of like my own lane and would keep me separate from them and not living in their shadow.
She invited me to run a 5K with her, which is about 3.1 miles.
It is mile 1 and I'm quickly getting left behind by Angelita.
The Boston Marathon isn't just any race. It requires runners to qualify for it. For Angelita, that means she had to run a 3-hour, 25-minute marathon before being able to qualify for the Boston race. For perspective, the average marathon finish time for women is between 4 hours 40 minutes to 4 hours and 50 minutes.
So the Boston Marathon is the oldest marathon in the United States. It's a huge deal. A bunch of people come from all walks of life to come for the Boston Marathon, and not even to run it, but I would say to also support it. It's a huge party, I would say. So it's a big deal.
It's mile 2 and I'm already down for the count.
Angelita doesn't just run for herself, she runs for her community.
I run for multiple purposes. One is for my mental health, but also to bring awareness for what's going on in the community. I'm very big on activism, so I use a lot of my running for purpose. I'm running for the Andrewsy Foundation. They help financial relief for cancer patients of all ages and all types. I would always say this, it's community. I mean, it's always my people. It's always holding space and holding representation. If I can inspire at least one person, that's enough for me.
All right, guys, that was 5K. I am absolutely dead. Angelita, how are you feeling?
Good.
Yeah.
Good warm up.
As you can tell who the athlete is.
For Angelita, 5K is just getting started, but she says that even a mile is an accomplishment.
Give yourself grace. I think that we all have an expectation of thinking that 1 mile isn't a lot, but it is, and we all have our own mobility challenges. So I'd say just give yourself grace and just keep showing up to the starting line.
For aspiring runners, she says to never hold back.
I think the one thing that I would really want to push for is that to always hold space for yourself. I think that we were taught at a really young age to really belittle ourselves and not make too much waves, but I say do the opposite. I say take up all the space and do everything you possibly can and get out of whatever you want in life. We got this. We got one chance, so what is there to lose?
For ICT, Daniel Herrera Carvajal.